Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Oh my goodness. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that was suno.com. $10 a month gets you 10,000 songs a month. And I'm not even there. Even there. Hey, on my right, your left, I have Jen, the homeschooling mom. And we are here today to talk about what that song was just all about. Can anyone guess? The Constitution. Yes, yes, in the corner. The Constitution of the United States of America. Absolutely. And Jen has done some research. She's done her homework. And I'll leave her uh, start it off.
Hi, everybody. This is so fun. I love talking about the Constitution. And I want to tell you about this book that we were reading. It doesn't have a fantastic cover, but it is called, um, hold on a second. I'm sorry.
The,
It's the
the two Georges.
The two Georges, thank you. And what this is talking about are the two Georges in the 1700s who were at war. One of them was
Mm.
George Washington, and the other one was King George the Third. And this is a book by, hold on, let me get the names. I I don't think that it is the author, but my son thinks it very well could be Richard Dreyfuss, as well as Peter Tuttledove. Then I think of this new series of homeschooling videos by the Tuttle twins, and I'm thinking, I wonder if there's a tie there. If Richard Dreyfuss really is the one that wrote this book, and that if the Tuttle twins is from Mr. Tuttledove, who wrote this book as well. But
Okay,
anyway,
so there's a book called "The Two Georges: Parallel Lives in the Age of Revolution." It's written by Susan Rayburn and Zach Kiltzman. Is that the same one?
no, mine's
No.
by Richard Dreyfuss.
Richard Dreyfuss.
Yes.
Is he an actor?
Yes, he is. He's the actor that plays the doctor in What About Bob? He's a very straight-laced actor. He's good. But my son Josh says a lot of actors have dipped into politics and written books. So I don't know, but what we learned from this book is when this
Yeah,
constitution
yeah. Here. Let me quick share this off so folks they want to if they want to buy the book. So get a big picture here. There we go. Ba 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 ba. Let me show you the picture. There you go. Let me make it bigger. And nope. No. So, oh yeah, the two Georges, parallel lives.
fantastic.
Yep. Okay. Anyways, back to you. Sorry.
Oh no, thank you for finding that. That's great. I just wanted to say I love this document. I mean, this is like our founding fathers document. This is our a doctorate to live by. Not like a Bible, but pretty much close. And I wanted to say what these people sacrificed, besides just fighting in the Revolutionary War to build our country and to call it ours, was treason, because they were all from England. They broke away from England, which is the King George the Third, and they're setting up their own laws. And these laws are for the people to tell the government how they want to be governed. And I love self government. And so, I mean, if you could take care of yourself, do that. And that's what they're trying to do, and build their own set of rules and ways of life. What did you want to say?
You know, when you think about the various countries, okay, and there's like 210 countries, I believe. Um, Ours is the most unique in that we are self-governed. When you
Right.
look at England, for an example, okay, back in the day, England was referred to as the United Kingdom because they had all these lands that they conquered because the time was right. The I guess God was shining on them. They had a huge army. They had a massive navy. Um, if you even wanted to survive in that time frame, you had to be one or the other. And the king of England, of the various kings of England, to stay in power, had to maintain control of their enemies, and they would constantly go to war with themselves and with other nations. So they, as they would go into China, Japan, uh, uh, other Africas, and so forth. Um, they would go there with intentions of conquering and controlling and ruling over. And for a while, they could do that because they had the weapons. But after a point in time, some of the citizens of the various countries, just um, first off, they're talking about a supply line of thousands of miles, which would take months to get from England or wherever to the nation in need. And then you have multiple thousands of English soldiers, along with several thousand of the citizens who supported the king to try and maintain control over millions of people. And eventually the numbers were against them. Sure, the English troops had their weapons, their cannons, and so forth, and were able to kill a lot. But after a point in time, they ran out of ammunition, they ran out of powder, and next thing you know, thousands of natives or whatever killing literally hundreds. So they were losing control. But the only nation that England lost control of was the 13 original colonies. Why? Because of the Second Amendment. And I think the founding fathers knew that in order for us to maintain independence from the king, we had to allow the citizenry to retain and keep their weapons, just in case.
Right.
And we have two people watching right now. We have Ray Fagans and we have William Grant.
Hi, guys. So I wanted to start out this
And,
lesson.
and I'm sorry, and Azus. Azus is here as well. And Azus says she is of English ancestry, 1 to 3% Anglo-Saxon. So I can't speak against. So he won't speak against his own people. I get it. Yeah, we'll speak for you, Azus. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No problem. I wanted to start out with a quote by James Madison, who, let's see, Washington, Adams, Jefferson. He was actually our fourth president, and he is the man who wrote the Bill of Rights, the first 10 um, amendments in the Constitution. Okay, so he says the essence of government is power, and power lodged as it must be in human hands, it will never be liable or it will ever be liable to abuse. And so we know that absolute power comes what is it? Absolute.
Absolute corruption, I believe.
Yeah, there you go. And just the fact that he is admitting this and that it has to be in the power of the people. That's why they signed the Declaration of Independence by we the people. Yes, Randy?
No, I had a couple of videos I wanted to also interact throughout our hour here.
Mhm.
Um, but I think I want to start off with a funny one. Just to get the mood right, because I promised the people that I was marketing for tonight's show that it was not going to be a classroom. There'd be no textbooks, and there's no tests, pop quizzes, and there's no homework assignments. It is simply Jen and I and whoever wants to interact, talking about the concept. This is going to be depending on how this first show goes, a series of the Constitution, because the Constitution has several parts to it that makes it one whole, and what people refer to as a living document. And we'll talk about what we mean by a living document. But I wanted to share this. It's a funny thing. Um, just to get the mood straight. Okay, get the mood right. Ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba. And folks who are watching from Facebook, I do not own the rights to this. This show is for educational and entertainment purposes only, and nobody is making money off of this show, just so you know. Okay, here we go. No one's making money. That's why I'm so poor. Okay, here we go.
Okay, so now that we have built a new country, what is the one thing that is most important to us?
People should be able to say dumb shit regardless if they are right, wrong, or indifferent.
So freedom of speech will be our First Amendment. What is the second most important thing to us?
We need guns. Lots and lots of guns. So many guns that it looks like we're preparing for a zombie apocalypse.
So the First Amendment is that you can say dumb shit, and the second is that you can be armed while doing it. Okay, so now that we have...
And that essentially sums up the way things are. The First Amendment allows us to be here to talk about what we're talking about today, and the Second Amendment allows us to maintain arms and keeps us free from tyrants. Um, so, did you want to go with more, or do you want to kind of like go over the framers' constitution that you sent me?
I did want to go over those men and to point out that these were, I mean, they know what they're talking about. It wasn't just like a bunch of people that escaped British rule, got on the Mayflower, came over and said, this is our country now. This is the new world. This is ours. No, they planned this out. They were a group of delegates who attended the Constitutional Convention to develop this Constitution of the United States. And so these were wealthy men. They were educated. They were lawyers, soldiers, owners who were, some of them are farmers, and they were statesmen, meaning governors. I mean, these people knew what they were doing, and they didn't want to answer to the king or pay him taxes anymore. They said, we can do this on our own and we can self-govern. So that is my intro.
Yeah, and keep in mind, folks, these men didn't have to do any of this. You know, they could have sat back in their very fancy homes, and they could have enjoyed life. Uh, some of them were shipmen; they had their own ships. Some of them owned land. Um, I believe one of them actually owned slaves, and so they could have just sat back and just let life go past them. But uh, they saw what was going on with the English government and the soldiers, and how the citizens of the 13 colonies were being treated, and they didn't like what they were seeing. Um, that's why I want to go through this one. In case you guys, I'm going to play that song again before the show is over. But that song was created by Suno.com. Yes, I'm going to give them a shout out because for $10 a month, you can't beat it. And all I did was I added these lines from the Constitution, which was, "We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense." I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. That's the right one. That's right. For the common defense, promote the general welfare, and ensure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Then they go in and they break it down. What do we mean by that? Section 1 is all legislation powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. Now, there are other governments throughout the world who kind of copied our idea. Okay, you have the Knesset of Israel. You have eventually, and I feel bad for the English citizens because they went from a massive, wealthy country to almost a third world. And I'm not going to go into the politics of that, but the king is more or less just a figurehead. He owns, multiple castles and uh, uh, not townhouses, but castles and other very large homes, and obviously all the jewelry and the gold and the crowns and stuff that goes with that. But essentially, he no longer has power over how the country is ran. They're leaving that to their parliament, and so the parliament is kind of a spin off of ours. So the founding fathers said we need to select from amongst our 13 colonies, because they were at the time, men to represent each state and how they want to be governed. And so they came together and they, got behind closed doors, of which I have a video, it's kind of neat, of what they did. Let me get rid of this one here. So they got behind closed doors and they said, you know what? Let's get together here. It's a hot, sweltery day. We don't have air conditioning. Damn it! What's got invented that? He hasn't invented that yet. But someone, I want to play this here to give you the idea of where these guys are at. Okay. Oh, this one here, I want to play this one first. This one here is actually, okay, so we created the Constitution, and we're fast forwarded to today, right? And things aren't going so well, and damn, we should have never done this kind of thing. It's funny. You have to watch it. I got to play it. I'm sorry. But it's, correspond to what you're trying to say, Jen, okay?
Thank you.
My fellow Americans, I am Thomas Jefferson, author of the Declaration of Independence. I wrote that all men are created equal, with unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I speak because these sacred principles are under threat. Government has grown beyond what we intended, reaching into every corner of your lives. When I wrote that governments derive power from the consent of the governed, I meant it. You are citizens, not subjects. Government serves you, not the other way around. Your rights to speak freely, worship as you choose, and live without interference are not privileges from politicians. They are natural rights no government can take away. Beware leaders who claim they know what's best for you. That is the language of tyrants, not servants of the people. The tree of liberty requires constant vigilance. When government grows too powerful, it is your duty to resist and restore balance. Remember, you were born free. Stay free. My fellow Americans.
There you go. That was an AI, obviously. That's not him. But yeah, so the Constitution was written for our independence, our ability to live, and so forth. You have something here that you sent me. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. Hey, David Nobard, thanks for coming. Matt Holmes, thanks for being here. Matthew Holmes, obviously, is the author of the books that we did broadcasts on. Thanks for being here, Matt. Do you want to go step by step over this document you sent me?
Yeah, it's great. It's not too big. It's actually really interesting to see where these guys came from and what they're thinking, and I love it. Go ahead. Is it the
Okay,
wherever? Yeah, go ahead.
So James Madison was a political theorist and lawyer. Alexander Hamilton was a lawyer and future Treasury Secretary. John Rutledge was a lawyer, later Supreme Court Justice. And James Wilson was a lawyer, and again, later a Supreme Court Justice. Number two is politicians and statesmen. Nearly all had experience in public service, such as serving in colonial or state legislators or the Continental Congress. Okay. So these were kind of experienced in politics. George Washington, obviously, he was a wealthy man. He was the general who led our troops into combat and eventually won the war for us, thank God. He was commander of the Continental Army, and he was preceding officer at the convention. Benjamin Franklin, we all know him, thank God for electricity. Diplomat, inventor, and delegate in the Continental Congress. And Roger Sherman, was that a name I haven't heard of, served on the committee that drafted the Declaration of Independence. So he's a twofer guy. So is there anything about those guys you want to talk about?
Well, what I love about all these guys that did this is that we have some background knowledge and we know, I trust what they're going to tell us to do. It's not like they're just Johnny come lately. He has an idea, like some of the folks we had in the administration in the previous 4 years. We're like, wait, why is he doing this? I think it was Pete Buttigieg, who was the Secretary of Transportation, and there was a terrible train crash in East Palestine, Ohio. And he decided to clean it up by having a burn pit. He set the whole thing on fire. And we're like, no, no, because now it's going to be in the soil and in the air. And all the animals are going to drink the water because it's in there too. So it was just a bad choice. And I would really like to know background on the people who are telling me what I should be doing. So this was really a good thing, and I'm glad you said these things. Even Ben Franklin. I mean, sometimes people are like, "Oh, he was just a funny blowhard," but he was a statesman. No, he was actually a genius, and he didn't. Well, did he really discover electricity? He didn't make the light bulb. Who
No,
goes
he
out
was.
in the rain to fly a kite and put a key on the string to see what would happen. So he was creative in everything he did. He was creative.
Well, it's like your children nowadays, and the little toddlers, and they crawl along the floor, and they walk up to the wall. Oh, woof woof.
Oh,
um, Barbara Amons is here, and Michael Anthony is here watching as well. So, folks, this was a topic that was near and dear to Jen's heart, and she brought me in, kicking and twisting, and I got a black eye, so forth. Now, she and I decided to do a show, possibly a series of shows. I don't know yet, depending on how this movie goes, about the Constitution of the United States and why it's so very important and why it makes our country unique to all the others. The next one, I really want to. Hey, there's Daryl Rector. Hi, guy. Hi, Daryl.
hi there.
Jen. Daryl. Jen is here with me. She wanted to do a show about the Constitution of the United States. And it finally came to fruition. So she's on my broadcast, and we're doing it together to talk about the Constitution. If any folks who are watching have any comments or thoughts, please chime in, and I'm more than happy to share your comments. The next one I like because it has to do with, of course, a correlation to our current president of the United States, and that's the number 3 was his businessmen, merchants, and financiers. So some of the founders were involved in trade, shipping, or finance. This is Robert Morris from Pennsylvania. He was a wealthy financier of the Revolutionary War. And George Clymer, who was a merchant and signer of both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Now, why is that important? Well, because we tried to do this and was blocked. Good job of doing it. Correct, Darryl. I'm not sure how or why. What reference do you mean? How was the Constitution? Are you referring to the fact that Jen wanted to do the Constitution before and it got blocked on a broadcast or a show? I'm not sure what you mean here.
I think he's talking about the Federalist Papers, which came first. And I know that those two. I love that book, The Two Georges, because it talks about the struggle between George Washington wanting to lead the American people to be a free people and to self-govern, and at the same time, I don't know, Daryl he went whole hog on the I know he did on the Federalist Papers, but I think that's what he's referring to.
Okay.
And that's what we tried to do the first time and it didn't work, so we came up with this.
So the reason why I like number 3 is because right now we have a president of the United States who had absolutely no political knowledge, no
Right.
He was never a lawyer, a senator, a congressman, nothing. What he knew was money. He knew how to make it. He knew how to keep it, and he knew that, like the one video I showed. Um, so I said, no, we're going to try and do it on another show, but didn't get to do it. That's what I was talking about.
Oh.
So, like the one video I showed previously, it said about keeping the government small and keeping the government essentially out of your lives. Trump wants to keep our government small. That's why right now they're fighting with the shutdown, because there's a particular part of the government that wants to provide things like $1 trillion in expenses towards a lot of different spending projects, but also to the illegals who they feel should get the health insurance. And of course, Trump says no, they're not citizens; they're here illegally, and he's in the process now of actually shrinking down the government because, hey, we don't have money coming in. We're doing pretty good by ourselves right now. Hey, we don't need you guys, so we want to get rid of you. So he's all about keeping our government small. And if you can do that and still keep the government small and still do a great job, hey, that's what it's all about. It's not about raising taxes on the citizens. But that's why we broke away from England to start with, because they were taxing our tea. Okay. The next one is planters and landowners. Many Southern delegates were plantation owners who managed large farms and enslaved laborers. Examples were George Mason and Charles Coatsworth Pinckney. Did you want to talk about that at all? About them?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
It's too close to slavery, and I'm like, let's not get into that. That's why that's why the colonists escaped. And so what are they thinking? They needed help, so they got slaves.
That's right. Next one is scholars and educators. A few had a background in academia or intellectual pursuits. Example is Benjamin Franklin. He was a scientist, an inventor, a philosopher, and a writer. And James Madison, who has deeply studied political philosophy and history. You want to expound on that?
Yeah. Benjamin Franklin he's the most prolific one in the whole bunch. He really is. He was comfortable. He knew what was comfortable. He actually invented bifocals, and he also invented the rocking chair, probably from getting yelled at all the time by his mom for leaning back on the kitchen chair because it just felt good to lean back. But those are two things. And then there's it's a funny thing about the national bird that I don't know who won with making it an eagle, but he was really trying to get people to vote for what he wanted. That would be a turkey. And I know because it was,
you're right. You're right.
It fed people, it was effective, and it was part of all of the early settlers' lively stock. But I think it would make the country the laughing stock if we had a turkey gobbler and the way they walk. Oh my gosh.
I think it goes, how can you soar like an eagle if you're only a turkey or something like that, right?
Yeah. This is like so back in the 80s, early 80s, I believe. No, this one is that show. It was a show about a radio show called WKRP in
Correct. Yes.
Cincinnati. And they were dropping turkeys off, but they weren't flying. They were dead frozen turkeys. So they were like bombing the city. They flew over to do
Oh God.
it was ridiculous.
I missed that episode, but now that you brought it up, I might have to dig up out of YouTube's archives.
Right.
I'm going to share this one here. This one here is funny, but also gets to the point.
The first amendment that I would recommend would be this one. It's pretty straightforward. It's freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom to assemble.
I love it.
It's not bad. Great. Moving along then. Second Amendment is Yes, Tim.
Like, what if someone says something that you disagree with? Or what if someone says something that hurts your feeling?
It's not the government's job to come in and tell its citizenry whether or not it can and can't say something.
What happens if someone says something that's untrue? We're going to need a team of fact checkers funded by the government to identify misinformation.
The government would never fund fact checkers against its own citizenry, not if the First Amendment has anything to say about it.
I give it 250 years.
So why don't we just put a pin in the First Amendment and move on to the second? The right to keep and bear arms.
But if everyone has guns, how am I going to stop them from saying things I don't like? Just saying.
The First Amendment.
I like that because it's funny, but it gets to the point. So the First Amendment allows us to be here tonight, and those in the comment section to talk and say what we want, without having to be afraid of someone knocking on the door, like over in England. Okay, it's one thing that keeps England at least in control of some of their nations that they conquered is the fact that they forced the citizens to give up their weapons. Okay, and so because they know that they have no, the cops have no, even the police officers, the bobbies, don't carry weapons. There's actually a special unit that needs to be called out if the police officers respond and need arms to or make an arrest or to respond to a horrific incident going on. So not every police officer, Bobby as they're called, carries weapons. They carry their stick, right? But you have to call out a special unit that actually has sidearms and rifles and things like that. Whereas we, as a Second Amendment nation, you don't know who has a gun. And that's the way it should be. Because if I walk into a store to buy, milk and bread and so forth, because winter's coming, or there's a snowfall coming, and I gotta make sure I have my milk and bread and eggs. I don't want to be in that store when someone pulls out a gun to rob the cashier, and here I am, totally defenseless, and the guy shoots and kills me. I want to know that there's someone in that store that has a weapon and is legally allowed to own that weapon, and that they are certified in how to use that weapon, and they take it out and they use it. And it's a running joke, but that's why a lot of people say that's why there are nations who are afraid to invade our country, because you're talking 300 million people who potentially owns weapons. And I've seen some of those weapons when I was in a different job. I sold security systems, and I was in people's homes. Holy shit, they're ready for World War III. No, I mean I'm serious. The kind of weapons they had the Jeep in the back yard with a mounted gun on it and so forth. They're making their own ammunition. They got body armor. It's like holy shit, and that's why the American people are still in control of our country. And
Right.
that's what we need. That's what we need.
Okay.
Mike Anthony says you can find. Mike Anthony says if you're not taxed through Washington, you'll be privatized taxed through. Okay, I think saying if you're not taxed through Washington, you'll be privatized taxed through your state, at least in the blue zones. Yesterday, a new one was brought up. It's called It's called a fire hydrant tax. State tax is a state tax, not a federal tax. So many benefits to keep people within a forced compliance society. And he goes on and says that you can find rocking chairs before he was born, meaning a Benjamin. And these magnificent structures built before most people ever knew they existed. He's talking about going back in history of other nations and what he's right. That's another story. Director says in a room full of good guys, a bad guy has no chance. but if someone has intent on shooting at you, they already have that upper hand on you. So the next one is soldiers and military leaders. Several had military experience. Obviously, George Washington. Alexander Hamilton was Washington's aide de camp, and Charles Coatsworth was an officer in the Continental Army. I did not know that. And again, that's a name I have never heard before. With my background, I never heard that name before. Let's see what we're at 7:39. Okay, I've been talking for quite a bit. Jen, why don't you talk about some of the things that you found in your research? 'Cause I think we're at the end of that document you sent me.
Okay, I thought it was interesting to bring this up one more time. That this was terrifying what they did, and especially what what's the guy that signed the biggest John Hancock. When he put his signature on there, he did not just write tiny. He believed this so much, and that's how we should all feel. Be proud of what we have. Be proud that you're an American. And go ahead.
Now, I think he also, and I could be a movie I watched that has no historical value, but I think he also did because he said, "If I'm going to go down in history, I'm going to go down in history." So that the government, the English government, knew that was his name, and if they were going to come after them, he would make sure that they knew who they're coming after.
Wow.
But yeah, you're right about that. He had the largest signature on that document.
Mhm.
I have another video here.
And by the way, all
Yep.
these guys knew when they were signing it what they were doing was being a felon. They were
Yes.
when they're
Yes.
trying to prove that Trump is a felon. I'm like, you're in good company. It's okay.
Very good company. You're right because they knew that even by being in that closed room, they knew that if the English found out that they could be put in stocks, okay, they could be put in prison. They could even be hung or shot for what's the word I'm looking for when you go against your own government.
A treason.
Treason. Yes, thank you. Ba, 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 ba.
In the scorching summer of 1787, 55 brilliant but deeply divided minds gathered secretly in Philadelphia to rescue a young nation adrift under the failing Articles of Confederation. Led by the commanding presence of George Washington and driven by the intellectual engine of James Madison, the delegates immediately clashed over Madison's radical Virginia plan, which sought to replace the old government entirely with a strong three-branch system. The central conflict pitted the large states demanding proportional representation against the small states who feared tyranny and insisted on equality, leading to a poisonous deadlock. The breakthrough arrived with Roger Sherman's Great Compromise, which ingeniously created a bicameral legislature, the House based on population and the Senate with equal state representation, paving the way for a brilliant framework built on the principle of checks and balances, designed to secure liberty under a system that Benjamin Franklin finally recognized as a rising sun. In the scorch...
There you go. They also wanted to. I think I'm probably thinking the wrong document, so I'll keep my mouth shut. Because these two documents, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, they kind of like, kind of like merged together, and sometimes I get confused on them. But these men knew that they're putting their lives, the lives of their family, their wealth on the line for doing this. And it's like they're saying, like the one comical video said, 250 years later, look where we're at. I think if I remember reading it correctly, the Constitution was changed 27 different times, and it takes a lot to make an amendment to the Constitution because it has the description being a living document because it's not meant to be. Here it is. Here's the document. That's it. You can't change it because they obviously knew that life's going to change. As we move forward, things will change. 250 years later, look where we're at. So we look at all the ways our lives have changed in our military, our religious beliefs. I mean, if these guys knew how we were going to totally, I don't want to get political here, but throw out our religious beliefs. And that's what because everyone came to the New World because of the way they were living, the poor, the poverty, the degradation, religious rights, and so forth. And if they knew then how we look at our God now, and how we have absolutely thrown him out, they'd be shocked. They'd say, "Why do we even do this? Why do we go to war? Why do we risk our lives? Why do we put our lives actually on the line?" If 250 years later, everything that we wanted, it's not going to happen. I mean, look at these nations that are in the thousands of years old. We're a baby next to all the other countries.
China.
So,
Right.
our Constitution was deliberately designed that yes, as life goes on, changes can be made, but it has to go through certain steps in order for it to be legally changed, and that's why we have our amendments. I mean, like for example, the Supreme Court, we have 9 judges. And I'm sure there was a reason why we chose 9. But, the Democrats, they want to increase that number. Why? Because right now there are more conservative judges than there are liberal judges. And the only way a judge gets added to the Supreme Court is A, if they die, okay, or B, if they retire. And then the president that's residing at the time, he has the ability to bring in a new judge. And that's what Trump did. And that's why a lot of things that Trump has to fight tooth and nail for eventually winds up in the Supreme Court because he needs them to make that final call. So when our founding fathers created the 3-point government, they knew what they're talking about. And somehow they knew. I don't know how, but somehow they knew. Daryl Richter says there used to be a requirement that you're a godly person to be in Congress. Yeah. See how far that went, being godly in Congress. And also the fact that, I don't want to turn this into a political show, but, with the way they steal, cheat, and they're there for life. They're not supposed to be in there for life. You're supposed to be in there for a period of time and they get the hell out. Otherwise, why not have a king? Okay. Because a king, he's in there for life because it was his family who brought the power to the country, and as long as the king's is in control, the king's in control. But these congressmen and senators who've been there for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, they shouldn't be there. They really shouldn't be. Hell, that one lady, I swear to God, she was dead, and they brought her in a wheelchair to cast her vote the one time.
Feinstein.
Yes, Feinstein. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Yes, we'll get rid of that. Did I play that? Yeah, I played that one. Folks, when you think about our founding fathers, it's like a father who has a family, and the father has responsibility to protect the family and to help it to grow and to help it to mature and help it to expand outward.
Right.
And And these founding fathers, when you think about it, are essentially the father of our nation. Okay. And had it not been for their um, had not been for their guts to stand up against the English and Walt Disney for making the movies, we probably wouldn't be. We probably still be a colony of England. But thankfully, they stood up against them. I mean, when you think about uh, up until that point, England won every war. They had a massive navy, massive military, and they lost to farmers and storekeepers. And the only reason why, well, a couple of reasons why they lost, because the men who went to war for the new country wanted something better for themselves. They wanted something better for their wives, their children,
Right.
and they put it all out on the line. You know, um, and finally France got their act together and decided to come in towards the end to help us get free ourselves of England, but and also because of these very long um, uh, the distance that the English had to bring troops and supplies in, and the length of time that it took to bring it to the New World to resupply the men, whereas the colonists had them right here. You know,
Right.
I want to play this, and I think we're getting close. This one here I thought was neat. I like this one. Um, uh, you're gonna find this interesting, Jen. Oops, I don't think I did audio on that one. Hold on, let me get out of that. Bum, 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 bum. I think I like this one. This goes back in time. Back in my high school time, when I was just a little kid, getting my ass kicked by the bullies. Okay.
Constitution of the United States. We cannot reestablish constitutional government and restore our free republic until a decisive number of Americans understand the Constitution and use it as a guide to political action. A constitution is meaningless unless it is construed to mean exactly what it says, and unless agents of government are compelled to obey all its provisions. You cannot depend on politicians to tell you whether they violate the Constitution. They all say they respect and obey it. You cannot depend on any agent of government to tell you what your Constitution means. You must read it yourself to find out. When you find out, you should do your utmost to remove from public office every official who violates the Constitution's clear meaning, if you want to save your own freedom and help restore your republic. I have published the full text of the Constitution. All who order copies of this broadcast will receive it. That is a summary of my report on Constitution of the United States.
So he is saying that if the people in government do not follow the rules of the Constitution, they're out the door.
Yeah,
And,
it's a process. You have to contact your state legislators, whether it's Senate or House. We have both. You have both in your state, but you have to come up with a statement that says, you're telling the delegates how you want them to vote.
yeah,
Bring up an issue that says we need to impeach Joe Biden because he has misunderstood the fourth article, section 4, that says the government will protect against all invasions,
yeah,
abroad, and against enemies, citizens that are enemies. He was supposed to protect, and I did many times, but they just write back,
yeah,
thank you for being involved in our Constitution.
yeah.
I was like,
Go take a flying leap.
do
Uh,
something. Yeah.
um, one of these days, we're going to also talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, which is the South. And I have a book here. Did you get your book today in the mail yet?
I got the Confederate.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to talk
Yeah,
about.
that's
Yes.
what I got. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. So John and I are going to be talking about doing a broadcast about the Constitution of the Confederate States of America. In other words, the Southern states. We're almost out of time, but folks, I want to play this second version of the song that I created specifically for the show, and it was simply by taking some of the lines from the document that we're talking about now and turning it over to Suno.com and letting them take control. And I'm gonna tell you what, folks, you're gonna really like it. If you don't, you're not my friend. No, I really think you're gonna like this. This is I shared the first version of the song with Jen earlier. Suno creates two versions of a song when it creates it. This one here is the second version, and I hope you like, guys. Listen to the words, okay, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay.
We the people stand and rise under open, endless skies, chasing dreams that never die. Brick by brick, we build anew for the many, not the few. A more perfect union, we declare. Justice breathing in the air, hand in hand, we hold the line for the future, yours and tranquility in hearts we seek, through the strong and through the weak. Liberty whispers, hear it speak, bound together, bold and free, writing history, you and me. A more perfect union, we declare. Justice breathing in the air, hand in hand, we hold the line for the future, yours and
Whoa, yeah. I'm sorry, I like that. Wow. So, Jen, any final words before I kick you out of my office? Oh, I did kick you out. Sorry, that.
Uh-huh.
I hit the wrong button.
Hi. That's okay. Been kicked out of better places than this. I'm kidding. Being kicked out is bad. Okay, I wanted to offer a free printable. I'm not sure how to get this to you. I sent it in the
Well, send it to me, and then I'll
private.
share it on the on the pages. Then.
I sent it in the private chat. I don't know how to get it to you besides hitting enter. It's a link.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Yeah, I see. I see what you're trying to do something here, but We'll worry about that later. Just send it to me a messenger, and I'll share it to the
Okay.
pages, the groups, and so forth. But before we go, I want to say thank you to the following people. First, Azuz. I want to say thank you, William Grant, Ray Fagans, Matt Holmes, David Novar, Barbara Amons, Daryl Rector, and Michael Anthony, obviously. And that's it. As far as people who actually made comments, thank you guys for being here. I know it's not your normal thing that you uh, look at or listen to, but Jen and I thought it was something important that had to be discussed. And the Constitution is something that should never be taken for granted. And we need to know, the men and women in uniform who are protecting our nation, are protecting our Constitution, our Bill of Rights. And thankfully, with the shutdown, President Trump was able to find a way to get them paid. Because if obviously a soldier signs up, and even if they didn't get paid, they have to show up. But unfortunately, in the 4 years that Biden was in charge, enough people got through the ranks who have piss poor attitudes towards the military, and the Secretary of War is in the process of weaning them out. Um, so we were thankful for what Trump's doing for our soldiers. We're thankful, very thankful for our soldiers and what they've done for us, and protecting us, allowing us to be here tonight. So, Jen, I want to say thank you. You and I will get together about a subject for Thursday. Have a good evening.
You
Okay. And ladies and gentlemen, um, uh, Matt Holmes. I don't know if he's still here, but Matt, I did start reading your the last book in the series that we did of Matthew's books, his reviews. It's 500 plus pages, so this is going to probably be a December broadcast where we'll be discussing his book here. Also, real quick, Jen's favorite topic: ghosts. And Michael Anthony has sent me some really interesting stuff to use for the broadcast, which I will be doing that as well. So, folks, I want to say thank you so much for being here this evening. I can go downstairs to eat supper. I have not eaten yet. Take care. Thank you, everyone, for being here.